Ladies and gentlemen, please remain at your seats while the President and official party depart the platform.
And the second Trump administration is now an hour old, and those were the opening notes. You can see the presidents and former presidents are leaving the Capitol Rotunda, the first time that the inauguration has taken place there since 1985 and Ronald Reagan. So once the dais is cleared, the next thing on the agenda for President Trump and former President Biden is for the Trumps to say goodbye to the Bidens on the East Front. The Bidens will get into Marine One, the helicopter, and they will fly to Andrews Air Force Base, where there will be another ceremony for former President Biden. President Trump has several hours still at the Capitol before he goes off to Capital One Arena, where a truncated parade will take place, and an executive signing ceremony as well. It looks like he'll be returning to the White House at about 5 p.m. this afternoon after he speaks to supporters at Capital One Arena. Before he leaves the Capitol today, he will visit the overflow crowd. About 800 guests were in the rotunda. About 1,300 are in the overflow crowd in Emancipation Hall. That's in the adjacent Capitol Visitor Center. He'll go and make remarks and greet those folks down there. There'll be a congressional lunch. There'll be a congressional signing ceremony. And that's the afternoon. That will take about until 3 p.m. Then he'll go to Capital One for a truncated parade and then return to the White House at about 5. So that's what's coming up this afternoon, all live on C-SPAN. A reminder, all events on C-SPAN 2 are without commentary, and you can watch just the events happening there. You can see the Trump family, and that is President Trump's father-in-law there on your screen, and that is J.D. Vance's mother at the bottom of the screen with the blonde hair and the glasses. And they will be departing soon. The Trumps and the Bidens will be heading out to the east front of the Capitol in just a second, and the Bidens will fly off in Marine One. That's the east front as we speak. But while we're waiting for them to come out, let's check in with John McCardle and see if there's any news.
Peter, it was the longest inaugural address in the modern political era. It was just under 30 minutes long, 29 minutes and 48 seconds, according to the official C-SPAN count kept by C-SPAN's Jeremy Art. Let me show you his chart going back to FDR in 1933. You can see the lengths in minutes and seconds of each inaugural address. Donald Trump's inaugural address this year was almost twice as long as his inaugural address back in 2017 when he became the 45th president. It was about 9 minutes longer than Joe Biden's 2021 inaugural address at 21 minutes. The longest before now was Bill Clinton in 1997, forgive me, at almost 22 minutes. On social media, congratulations pouring in from around the globe for the 47th President of the United States. I want to show you some of the world leaders sending out their congratulations. Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. On behalf of the United Kingdom, I send my warmest congratulations to President Donald Trump on his inauguration, saying the special relationship between the UK and the US will continue to flourish for years to come. This is Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India. Congratulations, my dear friend, President Donald Trump, on your historic inauguration. I look forward to working closely together once again to benefit both our countries and shape a better future. And this from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying, Sarah and I send our warmest wishes to you, Melania, and the American people on the second inauguration as President of the United States. And then one more from social media to show you. It was right as President Trump was giving the oath of office that the White House website officially changed over. And this is what you will see if you go to whitehouse.gov right now. America is back is the banner headline. Every single day I will be fighting for you with every breath in my body. I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's the promise right now at whitehouse.gov.
And also, while a few minutes just before noon, then President Biden pardoned his two brothers and his sister Valerie for anything that they might be charged with. He did that pardon while everybody was at the Capitol. This is a live shot of the east front of the Capitol. Marine One ready for the Bidens to take them to Andrews Air Force Base, and then off to California for a vacation following his 4 years in the White House. Well, joining us from Dallas is Jeffrey Engel, who is with Southern Methodist University Center for Presidential History. Professor Engel, what's your immediate reaction to Donald Trump's inaugural address?
You know, it sounded remarkably like one of his campaign speeches, and that's very unusual for presidential addresses. Usually presidential inaugural addresses are when the president tries to, reach to the highest rhetoric and reach to the clouds and give a big meaning to what they're trying to do, especially when we see somebody in their second inaugural. The second inaugural for George W. Bush, for example, is when he talked about the freedom agenda. Essentially, it's the time when presidents usually try to essentially lay out the themes of what they're going to do, but without all the specifics. I mean, obviously, President Trump told us that he wanted to do everything to make America strong and powerful again, and then gave a laundry list. And it's the laundry list historically that I think we don't usually see from presidents. But then again, President Trump has once again done things unusually.
National emergency declared on the southern border and with energy. That's unusual.
Yes, it's really remarkable, and the number of things in which one had to turn your eye again and again and again from President Trump to President Biden. Essentially, the number of times that the president twisted the knife of, if you will, of twisting the policies. I'm reminded in some ways by John Kennedy when he took the oath of office and succeeded Dwight Eisenhower. He talked about the torch being passed to a new generation, but he didn't actually go in and say, because the old generation had failed us. It was assumed that the new generation was going to be something that was innovative and vigorous. It didn't have to be said. President Trump certainly took the opportunity to lay out essentially what could have been one of his campaign speeches.
What is your take on the fact that Joe Biden pardoned more family members while everybody was at the Capitol? Not sure that Donald Trump was aware of that going in.
I think the flurry of pardons in the last few hours, and particularly in the last day, has done something different to my eyes as a historian. Normally, we see people being pardoned when they've committed a crime or when they've been convicted of a crime. The blanket pardons that President Biden has given, especially given the sense of his opposition that he has made the Justice Department into one of his own political weapons. The blanket pardons, strike me as very, very dangerous and very uncomfortable. And the reason is that, essentially what you're doing is setting a precedent for future presidents to go ahead and say to their staff and say to the people working for them, go ahead and do whatever you want, even if it includes breaking the law, because I will pardon you. And I'll even pardon you for things that hasn't been identified or named yet, that essentially are still secret, perhaps. So it's a very uncomfortable precedent. I mean, one can understand on a human level why President Biden would fear for his family members, but and that too is sad and unusual in American history. But this is an odd precedent to essentially get a get out of jail free card for something that has not yet been identified as a crime.
You can see a live picture on your screen, east front of the Capitol. The Trumps and the Bidens are gathered for the farewell ceremony. Let's watch for a minute. Now, as many of you know, inaugurals were traditionally held on the east front of the Capitol, where you see the president and the helicopter sitting right now. And that was until 1985 and 1981. And Ronald Reagan moved it to the west. Looking west was one of the themes of his first inaugural. And it's been on the west front ever since. And of course, the second Reagan inaugural was held inside the rotunda because of the weather. And today's inaugural was held inside the rotunda the first time in 40 years because of the weather. It's about 20, 25 degrees here in Washington, but quite windy. And it was predicted to be a little bit colder than it actually is. So there'll be a truncated parade this afternoon at the Capital One Arena. That's where the Washington Capitals hockey team play and the Washington Wizards basketball team. And that will occur this afternoon. Of course, we will be live with that as well. But coming up at the Capitol after the Bidens take off for Andrews Air Force Base and fly to Santa Barbara, there is going to be a presidential visit to the overflow crowd. About 1,300 more people were in Emancipation Hall, which is at the Congressional Visitor Center adjacent to the Capitol. The president will do some signing, and we'll find out what that's about. And then he will attend a congressional luncheon and a review of the troops before he departs the Capitol today, predicted about 3:30 p.m. before he gets out of there. So we will be back with our guest, Jeffrey Engel of Southern Methodist University. We'll talk about some of this afternoon's events, and we'll also be checking the news with John McCardle as we go. But let's watch Marine One take off.
Not bad, huh?
And the Bidens are off to Andrews Air Force Base. There will be a small ceremony there as well with the Bidens, and we will bring that to you at some point this afternoon as well. You can see Air Force One is there. It is not called Air Force One when the president is not riding on it. My guess is it's called Air Mission 46, President Biden being the 46th president. That's just a wild guess, and we'll find out. But you can see that is readied for the Bidens to take them to California. You saw Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff get in their limousine and head to where they're heading as well. So that's Washington, D.C. on inaugural day. And as you can see, that would normally be full of people and crowds, but the mall is empty. The Capitol is empty as well. all sorts of things were set up. There were TV monitors out there. The parade, that's Pennsylvania Avenue on the far left of your screen, not right next to the mall, but on the far left. And that's where the parade is normally held. That will not happen this time because that will be, the president will be motorcading to Capital One Arena, less than a mile from what you see there on your screen, and then Capital One Arena, about a mile or so from the White House. And that's Capital One Arena, full of Donald Trump supporters. They were listening in during his inaugural address, and I think we were showing some shots of them as well, applauding. But there is an overflow crowd at the Capitol Visitor Center, and this is Emancipation Hall. Capitol Visitor Center is about 15 years old. It's built underground. It's built under the parking lot where you saw the helicopter take off, and this is the main entrance for visitors to the Capitol. We can see that they're getting ready to have a speaking portion here as well, and we will listen in. Well, we are learning that President Trump is giving remarks to the overflow crowd in Emancipation Hall. We're going to be waiting for those and bring those to you live. Standing up on the dais, you can see Speaker Mike Johnson and his wife and the Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, Steve Scalise, and his wife or daughter. I cannot see from this angle. That's his wife, of course. Both Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise are from Louisiana. And Deb Fischer is on the far right with her husband. Deb Fischer is there. She's a senator from Nebraska, the Republican senator from Nebraska, was reelected in 2024 by about 6-7 points. Little controversy because in her swearing in for this most recent term, her husband would not shake hands with Kamala Harris, who as vice president is president of the Senate. So there's a little bit of controversy there with Deb Fischer. Here's the Speaker of the House.
Trump's triumphant return to the White House. Right now, already this morning, you can feel it around the country. We certainly felt it here in the city. America is coming together and roaring back again, and it begins today, as the president just told us. I know we'd all rather be gathered together on the National Mall with hundreds of thousands of our closest friends, but our disappointment is well overcome with our excitement for the future that we feel today. We have the chance to make the next 4 years the most consequential period in our nation's history. And as Speaker of the House, it is my great pleasure, my great honor, to introduce to you the man who will lead us to this new golden age, the decisive winner of the Electoral College and the popular vote, the 45th and the 47th and the greatest president of our lifetimes, Donald J. Trump.
Well, thank you all so much for being here. And was that a hell of a speech or what? That was, man. That was a good way to start it off. You know, I didn't know exactly what the president would put in that speech, and I hoped to myself that he wasn't going to hold back. And, sir, you didn't hold back. That was a hell of a way to start the next 4 years. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak for the president and for all of us, thank you, thank you, thank you for making this possible. We love you. We wouldn't be here without you, and we're going to make America great again together for the next 4 years. And the last thing I'll say is, you know, having stood outside for about 5 minutes to wave goodbye to the Bidens, thank God we moved that thing indoors because it was a beautiful ceremony and it was cold as hell outside. So, sir, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
No, he's right. I looked, I said, oh, look at this beautiful sunny day. We blew it. And then I went outside and we were freezing. You would have been very unhappy. The sun was very deceptive, I will tell you. It is cold out. And I'm sort of saying, you know, that was so beautiful today. Maybe they should do it there every 4 years. Does that make sense? I don't know. Because, you know, the outdoor thing is really good, but it gets a little cold around this time of the year, as some people have noticed. And a lot of times they suffer through it. There was no suffering in that room. It was 72 degrees. It was perfect with the best acoustics I think I've ever heard in a room. This is not so bad either. But I just want to say, you're a younger, far more beautiful audience that I just spoke to. And I want to keep it off the record. I want to keep that off the record because I don't want to have all those big shots up there. I don't want to think you're more powerful than them. You look better than them, and I love you. Now, we just had a great time. We just had a great day. This was amazing. You know, when you think we took a journey, I mentioned in the speech, a lot of people said that was not a journey that was possible, and it was indeed possible. I didn't really know too much about what they were saying when they said that, but a lot of people felt it. And we hooked up with J.D. very early. I watched J.D. over a period of time. I endorsed him in Ohio. He was a great senator and very, very smart. The only one smarter than him was his wife. That was, I would have chosen her, but somehow the line of succession didn't work that way, right? But now she's great and he's great. This is a great, beautiful couple and unbelievable career. I just said to him, you are very upwardly mobile, because he hasn't been doing it that long, but he picked it up so quickly. Remember, the first week was a little bit like the fake news was hitting him really hard. And I said, ooh, this may be tough, but after that, it was smooth sailing for him. He took on everybody. He took on the meanest. I don't want to use the word corrupt because we're into a new system, so let's wait till the corruption begins, because it will. But he took on some pretty mean people, and he handled it well. I want to also congratulate Mike Johnson for the job that he's doing. Steve, we gave him a majority of almost nothing, and then I said to make it tougher on him, let me take 2 or 3 of the people, right? I said he'll only have to suffer with that for about 3 months. How are they doing, by the way? Are they? Is that moving along?
Totally unified.
I said, do you mind if I take this one, that one, and a couple of others? He didn't mind. He can handle it. No, he's a man that's liked by everybody. I've never met a man like this. You've got how many is it, 219 or 220 or something? 220. And of the 220, 219 really like him. I noticed he got 1 negative vote once about 2 weeks ago. But I think even 220 like him, if you want to know the truth. And that's very unusual. I know a lot of nice guys in Congress, and they have 35 people that hate him. So if you have 35 people that hate you and you only have 1 or 2 or 3 votes, you'll have 5, I think. But that's going to be like, you know, the good news is when we get to that 5 number, it's going to feel like a massive majority. You could be really nasty to a couple of them at least, you know? So it's going to feel like hitting your head on the wall and stopping. It feels so good to stop, but he's done a fantastic job. And Steve Scalise he's our hero because, you know, I was with him. You talk about being shot. I was with him. He got some bad ones, and his incredible wife, and she really loves him. You know, you never know about that. I've been with other people. They were doing poorly, and the wife is like looking at her watch. She can't get out of the hospital fast enough. How's he doing? Oh, I don't know. He's all right. That woman was a mess. She was crying and crying. No, they're going to take him. They're going to take him. I told Steve when he finally woke up, it was a while too. The doctor told me it was the most blood they've ever transfused in any patient. They've never done anything like it. And here he is, the picture of strength, right? And he's been a great friend of mine, right? With a family, because of a family. And what a job you did. It worked out pretty much better than we even thought, right? And I did have a couple of things, to say that were extremely controversial. And between J.D. and Melania and anybody else that heard, please, sir, it's such a beautiful, unifying speech. Please, sir, don't say these things. I said, I'm telling you, it's going to play great. They say, you're right. For this group of people, it's going to play great. You're the only ones I hurt by not, but we had some beauties, didn't we, Melania? She said, sir, calls me sir when she's angry. No, I'm only kidding. I better say I'm only kidding, or the press is going to pick that one up loud and clear. No, but she said, no, I think it would be terrible. It's such a nice speech. I think it's, it all depends on your delivery. How was the delivery? Was it good? But she said it's such a beautiful speech. You can't put things in there that you were going to put in. And I was going to talk about the J6 hostages, but you'll be happy because, it's action, not words that count. And you're going to see a lot of action on the J6 hostages. See a lot of action. And I was going to talk about the things that Joe did today with the pardons of people that were very, very guilty of very bad crimes, like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs, where they literally, what they did is they destroyed and deleted all of the information, all of the hearings, practically not a thing left. They deleted all the information on Nancy Pelosi having turned down the offer of 10,000 soldiers. You wouldn't have needed 10,000. You could have had 500, and it would have stopped. Because we may have a million people that day, the people that were there. You don't see any photographs, but we have a lot of great photos. But you don't see those photographs. They don't put them in. They show the people at the Capitol. But I was talking about that. I was going to talk about that. They said, please don't bring that up right now. You can bring it up tomorrow. I said, how about now in front of the I'll bring it up right now. This little time delay is good because we're getting great reviews on the speech. Now watch. They'll take the speech and say, I didn't like it because he left there and he's talked to people. But we're giving you a little more information than we gave upstairs. But no, they pardoned a lot of people. They pardoned, before we even get to today, they pardoned, 33 murderers, absolute murderers, the worst murderers. When you get the death sentence in the United States, you have to be bad because they don't give it much. And he pardoned almost everybody having a death sentence. And if you went through the crimes that were committed, you wouldn't even believe them, the level of violence, the people that were killed, the innocence of people that were killed, and children killed by these people. And he pardoned them for whatever reason. He spared them, but they didn't spare the people that they killed. And who knows what happens in the future. It's one of the worst because a lot of times they let them out early after that. They say you're going to be in for life, but then all of a sudden they get let out for good behavior, and then they go on a rampage. It's one of those little things, right? But I was going to talk about that. But I was really going to talk about the level of, what's going on. Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to help a guy like Millie? Why are we doing Millie? He was pardoned. What he said, terrible what he said. Why are we helping some of the people? Why are we helping Liz Cheney? Liz Cheney is a disaster. She's a crying lunatic and crying crying Adam Kinzinger. He's a super crying. I never saw the guy not crying. He's always crying. I looked at him. I remember years ago he was actually on my side. And then one day, you know, when you don't want to kill people in wars, they turn against you. Liz Cheney hated the concept of not going to war with everybody. Let's kill everybody. Let's spend a lot of money on military equipment. You know where her father works, right? And but what she did was incredible. Think of it. They destroyed and deleted all of that information that went on for almost 2 years against Trump. And the reason they did, because it was all false. Like the person that said, I tried to strangle a Secret Service agent. That's one of the toughest human beings I think I've ever seen. I actually had a friend saying, please don't change that, sir. You are the coolest sucker in history. Remember, she said, I put my hands around his neck because he wouldn't go to the Capitol. Made up fiction. And I was rebuffed. And the guy on the right is a massive weightlifter, probably stronger than me. Do you think he's stronger than me, honey? You know who I'm talking about. Possibly stronger than me. Slightly younger than me, like, I won't say how many years because I don't want to talk about that, but a lot of years. But I had a friend that said, why are you disputing that story? That's the coolest story I've ever heard. That I would attack a karate champion, get slightly rebuffed, and then throw my arms around a guy with a neck about this big. Even though there are bars, you know, there are bars, you can't really do that anyway. So I wanted to talk about that. But all of that stuff got deleted. And the reason it got deleted is they were all caught in lies. You know, Secret Service testified, and they said it didn't happen. Actually, the two guys were very embarrassed. They're suffering because their friends are saying, did Trump really do that to you? But they gained a whole new respect for me. But it was just make-believe stuff, and there were a lot of make-believe stories made up. So rather than suffer the wrath, like the story with Nancy Pelosi, I offered her 10,000 soldiers. She knows it. She admitted it on tape that her daughter made. She's a videographer or whatever you call her, which I'm glad she is. Oh, she can't be in good stead with Nancy. But Nancy said it was my responsibility as she's leaving the Capitol. She said it was, and it was. She's in charge of security at the Capitol, but I offered them up to 10,000 soldiers, even more. One time I said more, as many as you need, but you needed 400 or 500. If 4 or 5, you 10,000, that would be more than the number of people there by lot. But we offered her 10,000. Think of it, 10,000 soldiers. In other words, J6 wouldn't be J6. There would have been no J6. But she rebuffed them. She didn't like it. No, she didn't like it. Maybe she wanted that to happen. But she's guilty as hell. And now we would have to go through the process because they destroyed all evidence. They deleted everything. There's virtually nothing left. The other fake story and so many other fake stories. And many people came out on our side. And those people now would got to find them. There's nothing left. So that's a criminal offense. If that were a civil case, it would be a criminal offense. If that happened civilly where you did that, it would be a criminal offense. So I decided I'm not going to make this speech complicated. I'm going to make it beautiful. I'm going to make it a unifying speech. And then when they said we have a group of people that are serious Trump fans, I said, this is the time to tell those stories. He knows. So anyway, but seriously, I'd like to, I think it was a tremendous success. I think we're very lucky we put it inside because it is really cold. We just went to the helicopter out of respect. It's something that's taken place for a long time. I guess it's as old as helicopters. You used to get into a stagecoach, now you get into a helicopter. Times change. But it's pretty old custom. And it's a beautiful custom, actually. It's a beautiful custom. I wish we could have had a better relationship. I wish we could have had a better relationship between Republicans and Democrats. I was with Senator Schumer. I said, Chuck, I think it's time we all start getting along a little bit because it doesn't make sense. I mean, we literally never get a Democrat vote. They never get a Republican vote, almost. And although there is a bill coming up very shortly that we have a lot of Democrat votes, right? That's going to be a very beautiful bill. We're going to have a deciding, I would say, within a week or so, I think. And it's going to be a very good bill. You all know what I'm talking about. So I just want to thank you all for being here. You have been our fans from day one. All these people all over. You've been our fans. This has been there's never been anything like it. There's never been anything like it. This has been a movement like no movement ever in history for probably any country, let alone this country. You know, if somebody's running for president, and if they go out and they announce they're going to Arizona, they're going to Nevada, they're going to someplace, if you have 200 or 300 people, that would be standard. Ronald Reagan would go out. I mean, outside of the last couple of days where people get a little excited, but even then you have a couple of thousand people. But if you're going to go someplace, any place, anywhere,